If you're visiting for the first time or watching online, my name is Efrain Peña. I'm the campus pastor here at Southfield Santa Clarita. And today, as you've heard several times already, we are kicking off Family Month 2024. As Pastor Moses said, it's an entire month dedicated to building up and reinforcing our most meaningful relationships. That be our relationship with the Lord, the relationships with our loved one, our family members, the relationship with our co-workers, neighbors, and our community. And so, and on top of that, we get to top it off with some great fun family activities. So I hope that you're ready. I hope you're ready to have an incredible month. Now, our series is titled Magic Words, right? The power of please, sorry, and thanks, right? You see, words are so powerful. Even years later, you can recall something that someone said to you or about you because of the way it elevated or devastated you. We don't often think before we speak, and sometimes even less before we type, we text or post. But our words have the potential to bless and or curse. Our words have the potential to heal and or hurt, to bring life or even death. You see, words to a large degree determine destiny. And according to research, some have an even bigger impact than others. And so the question is, what if when you're a kindergarten teacher, shout out to all the teachers out there, right? What if when you're what if when your kindergarten teacher told you to say the magic words, please and thank you, those are the magic words, right? She was on to he or she, you don't like my singing? Good Lord. Anyway, what if he or she was on to something so vital to and for us? And if so, what words, if understood fully and incorporated regularly throughout our life, might have the ability to change for the better our relationships with ourselves, our relationship with the Lord, our relationship with each other, and the world at large, for that matter. Over the next several weeks, we're going to be talking about the magic words, please, sorry, and thanks. But today, let's start off with how are words magic? How are words magic? I don't know about you or what comes to mind when you hear the phrase magic words, right? Maybe something at a magician show, right? Something like abracadabra or hocus pocus, and poof, something changes, transforms, or appears. And that's really essentially what magic words are, right? Simple speech that triggers a tangible transformation. When you say them, something happens. When you say abracadabra, and then the bunny appears. Or you say open sesame, and the doors open. You say hocus pocus, and the bird comes out of the cat's mouth. You say, I'm watching the game, and your wife immediately starts to running off the honey to-do list with all the weekly chores. Magic words. Magic words. Say something, and things start to move. Now, some words and phrases are just more potent and powerful than others. Maybe you grew up in a Christian home where the word magic was a taboo, right? Because it was associated with witchcraft. But what's interesting is that the first place that we see truly magic words play out is in the book of Genesis. And God's the one speaking them. Like all magic words, there's a pattern to them. He keeps saying, let there be. Let there be, let there be, over and over and over again. And when he says it, something happens. Simple speech, tangible transformation. It's mind-boggling to think that when we look around the world, everything you see is something God once said. But it goes beyond that. And here's where things get really interesting. Scripture tells us that what we say has the power of creation and destruction. That what we say has the power of creation and destruction. James, the brother of Jesus, said this in James 3:6. The tongue is a fire, right? So it's not just God's words that are powerful, it's ours as well. The Creator shared with us his power of creation. And I think that's profound, right? And because we're made in his image, the primary way that we create is the same way that he creates, with words. With words. The implication here is that you cannot say anything without creating something. Now let that seep in. You cannot say anything without creating something. However, not everything our words create is something good. And you probably have noticed that. There are certain things that people have said to you that built you up, that put you on a pedestal, that made you feel good. And there are other things that have been said to you that tore you down, that hurt you, that gutted you. There are words or phrases that created safety, confidence, and possibility. And there are other words that created fear, insecurity, and hopelessness. Listen, God has given us the capacity to create and the ability to choose what we create. Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue can bring death or it can bring life. The tongue can bring death or it can bring life. And we should pay close attention to this because, man, we love to talk. We love to talk, and we love to type, and we love to text, and we love to email, and we love to post, and we love to FaceTime, and we love to Zoom, and we love to comment, and we love to share. Woo! That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words being said. That's a lot of words, and when we look, right, when you look around your life, what do the majority of the people that you do life with, right? What do the majority of the people that you know seem to be using their words for? Some of you are like, oh, Lord, can't say that in church. Are they speaking life or are they speaking death? Are they speaking blessings or are they speaking curses? Ever been in a situation where someone's name comes up in a conversation, like you maybe in a group or one-on-one, maybe at the lounge or at your coffee break area, right? The conversation comes up about someone and someone chimes in and immediately perks up, right? And they just start ranting and about how horrible and untrustworthy and crooked and mean and two-faced that other person is. And then they just walk away, be like, I don't know, I'm just saying. When someone starts griping about something, they're using words that are demeaning. They're using words that are demanding, words that are arrogant and ungrateful, and it changes It changes the way the room feels. It changes the atmosphere. The air becomes thick and tension and angst, and it becomes very, very uncomfortable. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Been there? Right? And maybe you feel like they feel. Maybe you feel like they feel, and so you chime in and you add fuel to the fire. I want to tell you that's where darkness begins to reside. Or maybe you don't agree with them, but they don't notice or care, and so you try to keep your head down until you can exit the conversation or exit the room. Or maybe there's a nervousness, an uneasiness that comes over you, not knowing what to do with them in this state. You don't want to say anything that will kind of set them off on you, and now they change their venom, start spitting their direction at you, right? Or ramp them up in any way more than they already are. What do? You start talking about sports. You start talking about the flowers. Change the subject. You walk away, put your head down, open up a book, get on your phone. You see, there's part of you that wonders, do you see anything good or worthwhile or beautiful or hopeful or heartwarming in the world or the situation or in our community or even just me? There are certain people that when we get caught up in conversation with them, there's a heaviness to them. There's a sadness aura about them, right? There's a depressing, destructive undercurrent that runs through it. There's a seething anger that feels like it could spark a brush fire. The words that they're using are magic, but they're not creating light. When they talk, it almost feels like hell is closing in around you. And maybe that's confusing because that person that's doing the talking is a Christian. That person that's doing the talking is a believer. The way they talk is a drain to you. When you walk away from them, it almost feels like they took something from you. The things that they say don't create encouragement. They don't create enjoyment or excitement. In fact, it's just the opposite. I'm pretty sure you know someone like that. The better question is, however, are you someone like that? What are your words creating in the lives of the people around you, friends? That's something to think about. I want to share with you a story about an Old Testament family who encountered a crisis. They found themselves in the middle of the same situation, but the way they saw it and spoke about it couldn't have been more different. And each of their words were an act of creation, pulling the story in different directions. I wonder which character best represents you this morning. So let me give you a little context. The story begins with the rogue warrior David. He's approaching an estate and is asking for food and water for his men. They've been guarding their herds and property voluntarily, right? And it was common in this culture and in this time for landowners to exchange food for protection. And so David puts it out there. He's looking for that exchange. And here's what the landowner, or how the landowner replies. And it's found in 1 Samuel 25. Starting in verse 10, it says, "Who is this fellow David?" Nabal sneered to the young men. Who does this son of Jesse think he is? There are lots of servants these days who run away from their masters. Should I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to the band of outlaws who come from who knows where? Now, Pastor E, well, you're a little excited, right? Why are you talking like that, Pastor E? Because if you understood the context of the story, you would know why. Because he wasn't just talking. There's a little hastiness. There's a little aggressiveness. There's a little bitterness in his voice and his tone. Basically, he kind of goes off. I mean, a simple no would have sufficed. But the words that Nabal uses are unnecessarily aggressive. He leads with arrogant insults, which is odd. Which is odd because David isn't making a demand. He's asking a question. You probably know people who do this though, right? Who see everything as an invitation to fight. In fact, you probably live with someone like that. Ooh, Pastor Edie, that's too close. Friends, if your default response to any request is an onslaught of negative assumptions and unprovoked aggression, you're actively sabotaging your own connections. Almost everything about Nabal's explanation is wrong. He knows exactly who David is. A famous military hero, the next anointed king. He is husband to the princess. Everyone knew who he was. But Nabal's going around pretending that he doesn't know him in an effort to what? Insult him. And it works. It works. Verse 12 and 13, so David's young men returned, right? And they told him what Nabal had said, right? And David replied, get your swords, as he strapped his own. Then 400 men started with David, and 200 men remained behind to guard their equipment. So David is like, oh, you talking to me? Oh, heck no. You don't know who I am. All right, let me show you who I am. David is insulted. Not only is he insulted, he is mad. And here's the problem with regularly relating through intimidation, right? You will eventually run into someone who isn't intimidated, right? Who won't be bullied, who refuses to be pushed around. And that may be the day that you learn the hard lesson. Friends, it doesn't have to be this way. You see, relationships are reciprocal, right? Others respond to us according to what they receive from us. Think about that. Others respond to us the way, right, they receive from us. If we're aggressive with someone, the odds are they're going to be aggressive back. If we're kind, the odds are we're going to receive kindness in return. Maybe this is why Jesus says in Matthew 7:12, do to others what you would like them to do unto you. Jesus is reciting a proverb, not making a promise. He's given us wisdom based on probabilities. He's talking about the law of reciprocation. Does it work every time? No, but it works more often than not. And if you live this way, friends, no matter what other people do, you can still be proud of yourself. That you're choosing the higher road. That you're choosing to partake in a conversation that is less aggressive, less intimidating, less harsh. In verse 14, it tells us that one of Nabal's servants goes running off to Abigail. Abigail is his wife. They're like, oh no, Miss Abigail, your husband done messed it up again. He done put his foot in his mouth, and let me tell you what happened, right? Verse 17 tells us that she goes on to tell her, and then you need to know this, and you need to figure out what to do. Trouble is coming for us. Trouble is coming for us, and it starts with a capital D for David, right? Because your husband has some serious issues. Now, let's sit there for a little bit. Why did the servant run off to tell Abigail, right? I think it's because Abigail was a reasonable woman. Her husband wasn't, but she was wise, and she measured, right? She measured her words. She thought her words, and he was this hot-headed and impulsive person. When Abigail got involved in the situation, her words made a way of making everything better. Nabal made everything worse. And sure, you've seen this play out with leaders before, with managers, at your job, with family members. But here's the thing. Do the people around you feel like they can say anything to you? Not just that they agree with you, not just that they support you and they think that you're awesome and fascinating and fabuloso, but can the people around you share that they don't think the way you think, that they don't have the same perspective as you do, that they think and feel differently than you do, without feeling that they're going to get pounced on by you? Listen, just because nobody brings anything up to you doesn't mean that they don't have anything to bring up. It may just mean that they're sharing it with everyone but you. When someone shares something with you, do they get rigid, defensive, angry, or hold it against, or because they feel that you're going to hold it against them and their future? Because that's exactly what Nabal did. The attitude he had and the words that he spoke brought his household, which were hundreds of people, right, to the brink of destruction. He basically cursed his household by being aggressive towards David, but he doesn't see it. The only perspective that matters to him is his. So his wife does what every smart, intelligent, reasonable wife would do. She steps in and saves the day. Verse 23 says, when Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed before him, low before him. She fell at his feet and said, I accept all the blame in this matter, my lord. Please listen to what I have to say. Verse 25, I know Nabal is wicked and ill-tempered man. Please don't pay any attention to him. He's a fool, just as his name suggests. But I never even saw the young men that you sent. Now, again, context. I find this funny because Nabal, the name Nabal, literally means fool, which kind of gives you this non-subtle hint that isn't his real name, but a nickname that he goes by. So if someone calls you Nabal, right, it's an indication of his reputation. His wife isn't betraying him by calling him a fool. She's verbally validating what everyone else sees but doesn't want to say out loud. He's rigid, demanding, self-centered, and narrow-minded. And what we see here is this couple's contrasting approaches to the world. And we see the reciprocal nature of relationships. David responds to Nabal's arrogance and aggression with more of the same, and to Abigail's kindness and consideration with more of the same. Friends, not only do your words create, they shape what those around you create with their words. In other words, if you begin to speak death over a situation, the people in that environment would eventually begin to speak death. But if you begin to speak life into that situation, the people around you will also begin to see and speak life. Verse 33 says, "Thank God for your good sense. Bless you," this is David speaking, "bless you from keeping me from murder and from carrying out vengeance with my own hands." Nabal was dead. Nabal was going to be dead, right? Verse 35, "Then David accepted her present and told her, 'Return home in peace. I have heard what you said. We will not kill your husband.'" Nothing much changed about the situation, but her approach and the words that she uses changed everything. It reminds me of the proverb that says in Proverbs 15, verse 23, "Everyone enjoys a fitting reply." Think about that. Everyone enjoys a fitting reply. David gets a lot of credit in Scripture, right? But he isn't the hero in this story. Abigail is. Her ability to slow the situation and see the much bigger picture enables David to change and to do the same. It's called distancing, choosing to see your situation from a big picture perspective. It's like choosing to change the camera angle of our story. Instead of watching it from the inside, it's looking at it from the outside, from a wide angle, like a scene unfolding between characters. This works because we're better at seeing other people's situations than our very own. Distancing allows us to ask ourselves, is what I'm saying, is what I am doing, what I would advise to someone else to do in a similar situation? We're basically taking ourselves out of the current situation, stepping aside and saying, I wonder what I would tell someone in that situation to do. Because right now, in this situation, I want to smack that person. I want to tell that person off. But if I was to distance myself, take myself out of that POV and put myself in a different one, now what would I say? How would I react? What would I want this person to do? Yeah, knock him out. No. Chances are we would say something different. Friends, studies show this practice reins in people's fight or flight response. It dampens emotional activity in the brain, and it leads people to experience less hostility and aggression when provoked. Listen, your ability to think this way changes what you say, and your words have a way of changing the situation itself. Verse 36 tells us that Nabal wants to throw a big party. In fact, he throws a big party, right? And he gets drunk. He gets drunk, right? Doesn't say anything. His wife comes in, right, and sees the party. Oh, there's a party going on, right? And she doesn't say anything to him about her meeting with David. It's a wise woman right there. Wise woman. Probably not a good idea to confront him when he's drunk. Because it's not just about saying the right words, friends, but saying them in the right way at the right time. Ouch or amen, but it's true. You see, when and where and how you say something is just as important as what we're saying. I've learned through trial and error that I don't need to critique Noah's basketball game in the car ride home. I could do that in the comfort of my home or the next day when we have both cleared our hearts and our minds and can see from a different perspective. Proverbs 27:14. A loud and cheerful greeting in the morning is a curse. In other words, maybe you don't have a serious budget conversation at 1 a.m. Maybe you don't lecture your kid on why climbing that tree was a bad idea while he's in the hospital with multiple fractures. Just a thought. Maybe don't ask 17 questions the minute they walk in the door from a long day. In the words of the wisdom writer, it'll feel like a curse. It'll feel like a curse. Abigail is smart. She waits to talk to him until he's sobered up, till he's gotten some sleep and had his morning coffee. Verse 37 says, in the morning when Nabal was sober, his wife told him what had happened. And as a result, he had a stroke and he lay paralyzed on his bed like a stone. Verse 38, about 10 days later, the Lord struck him and he died. We can end it right here. But here's the thing, the sad reality for Nabal is that he was dead to these people long before he died. Ever had a front row to a situation like that? Ever known someone's relationship was over before they did? How heartbreaking would it be to find out that you were that person? That you were that person, that the words you spoke were rapidly making a relationship with you unsustainable. The way Nabal talked didn't wreck his life. It destroyed his family. And there's something incredibly heartbreaking about it. The way Abigail talked ended up saving her whole household. Yes, he died, but she was able to save her whole household from being murdered. I'm going to wrap this up here. I want to leave you with the understanding that your words have weight. And not just weight, your words have power. They have power. So what story do you want to be told about you? And what happened as a result of the words that you spoke to and over and around and about your family? Are you going to your friends and speaking life or death about your family? In your household, the place where you are supposed to be breeding love, are you breeding hatred, destruction, chaos, turmoil, bitterness, aggression? Yeah. Better believe that your words are creating something. The question is that something good? Is that something good? The thing I think that is interesting is if two people live in the same house and are part of the same family, but they talk differently. Why is that? Why is that? I think it has a lot to do with something Jesus said in Luke chapter 6, verse 45. It says, what you say flows from what is in your heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. In other words, what someone says reveals more about them than what they're referencing. So if you want to change, church, if you want to change what comes out of your mouth, you're going to have to change what goes inside of your heart. I think that's easy to understand. Because if we don't change what goes into our heart, then what's going to be spit out is going to be reflective of that. You see, you have to change what you listen to, what you watch, what you think about, what kind of conversations you have with other people, what kind of places you go and visit, what kind of accounts you follow on social media, for those of you who are on the social media platform. Because all of it, in some way, shape, or form, is changing, creating, building, or destroying who you are and what you say. Because if the group that you in is all about negativity, then guess what? It's going to happen. You too will be filled with negativity. If the people that you follow on social media that have your ear, that eventually will have your heart, and all they speak about is destruction and hatred and anger and all the other things that bring death, and that is what you will eventually begin to showcase. Some of us shrug our shoulders, be like, nah, I'm good. I can control this. I got it. Do you really? Do you really? We have to make the change, folks. You know how to tell someone if someone's not good for you? Tell that someone is not good for you by what's going, or what it's doing, that relationship is doing to you. This show isn't bad, not for everyone, but it certainly isn't helping you. Oh, this friend isn't a bad person. Nope, but they're not a great influence on you either. Oh, this activity, what I'm doing is not wrong, it's not evil. It doesn't have to be. But it seems to be producing a lot of negativity in you. Here's what I think is crazy. Sometimes you're the last person to fully understand what's going on in your own heart. You're the last person. A lot of times, if they're paying attention, your family will realize something's going on with you way before you do. Because the way you talk has been revealing how you think and feel. Your mouth has been speaking what your heart is full of. So anyone who's really listening to you can see what's inside. They don't need a degree or a master's to know. Friends, others can see what's going on in you by observing what your words are creating around you. So what are you saying? Are you building or are you destroying? Are you loving or are you hating? Even something as simple as, man, are you supporting your friends or are you acting like, whatever, whippy? Because even that is bringing on destruction. Every conversation, friends, is an act of creation. And you are accountable for what you create. Nobody else is. You are accountable to what you create. The life that you speak to your spouse, the life that you speak to your kids, to your family members, or to the death and the curses that you speak to them. Matthew 12:36-37 says, you must give an account on Judgment Day for every idle word that you speak. The words you say will either acquit you or condemn you. When you listen to those verses over and over again, doesn't it sound like a reward is waiting for you or punishment? Does it feel like a beautiful promise or an intimidating threat? It probably depends on how you talk. But if you don't like what your words are creating in the people around you, the people that you love and care about, it's not too late. It's not too late to invite God to change your heart and to change your language. It's not too late. So where do we go from here? How about we start here? Ask your family. Leave here today and ask your family, in what area are my words hurting you more than helping you? In what way are my words hurting you more than helping you? And what's the most meaningful thing that I have ever said to you? What did that create in you? Start there. Begin to change and speak life into your family, into your loved ones. And once you're done there, speak life to your co-workers, to the people that you have distanced yourself from maybe. Think about it. You have the power. God has gifted you with the power to create. What are you going to create? Amen.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, or whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.